Hello, welcome along to the next instalment of the HET break, where we're talking again about all the things nobody tells you when you become a manager in HE.
I did not think I would have to deal with so much office politics. Sometimes I find myself mediating and think, I can't believe I've just spent an hour having a discussion about the tone of someone's email. Emails don't have tones.
Oh, but they do.
I keep saying to them, just take it as they said it. Well, they said da 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 da, but I don't know if they really mean it. Just take them at their word. Take them at their word. Move on.
I've had people misinterpret things I've written because they don't know me, and so they've taken it as though I meant it sarcastically or meant it passive aggressive, you know, because they've never met me. So I'm like, no, if you like, anyone who's met me knows that I mean what I say what I mean. I'm American. Like, I'm not you don't need to read between the lines with me. Like, there's no interpretation necessary. Like, I'm not playing mind games. I'm not playing, like, there's just, and more, several, like when I first moved here and stuff. But it's funny, I've had more issues. I've learned more about managing volunteers outside of my job then it's like I've brought all of that drama and politics handling and
volunteers are hardest to manage.
People manage, just like navigating people stuff. It doesn't just happen in your formal role. It's like there's lots of that happens in life, and if you take those things and go, okay, communication is really important, and don't send an email on a Friday night. You're going to get a drunk phone call screaming at you and calling you names, which has happened to me. So, great. Thanks for reading my weekend.
Not by anyone that you worked at a university with, of course.
No.
Just for clarity.
Just saying. No.
Do you need to put on your emails? You have to put like an asterisk. Yes, I'm American. For context.
Just for context.
Just for context.
I think that on the flip side of that has been learning to. My original degree was in anthropology, so cultural sensitivity and like understanding there's lots of different ways to communicate is all kind of part of my, I was going to say upbringing, part of my original education. But there's nothing like moving to a country that you didn't grow up in and learning all of those unspoken things that creep into relationship and conversations, and trying to navigate that in we have such a, I work in London, so we have such a diverse community of students and of staff, and so you've got people from all over the world all trying to get on together and all trying to, and so there are lots of misunderstandings and lots of refereeing and like in the schoolyard sometimes, just going, okay, can we just everybody take a deep breath? Can we just take a step back? Let's be professional here. But trying to read between the lines and not let it undermine your own confidence of like, do I understand what's going on here? Like, have I handled this right? Or have I, am I reading this too simply? Did they mean something else? I've taken them at face value. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, but should I be getting the subtext here that I'm missing because I'm not British? Or that you just kind of that it took me many years of wrangling with that to sort of feel comfortable and confident and just go, yeah. So I will stand in, as long as my conscience is clear and I've said and done things in line with my integrity, then all I can do is apologize if I've got it wrong, or if somebody's misinterpreted something that I didn't mean in the way that they interpreted it. And, put my hand up, sorry, that's not what I meant. I apologize that that's how you took it, you know, or apologies that that's how it came across. That wasn't my intention. This is what I meant, and just learn to just be really upfront about it with people.
Well, I mean, mine probably would relate actually to your last point, Kelly, because I think the thing that surprised me that I ended up managing that I didn't expect to was somebody in an office, a junior person who is like a work placement guy, said something really offensive to one of my team members and just had absolutely no idea that it was offensive or why she was upset about it, and having to actually explain why that was upsetting to her and how he could, like, signals that he could look out for next time that people that you're in conversation with were upset. It was so fascinating. And you know, now knowing what I know, I'm like, okay, there was probably some neurodivergence happening there that, you know, that we needed to kind of help accommodate. But yeah, in terms of kind of being really upfront and all of that kind of thing, I think it's something that we all can really take a lesson from you in, because working in like diverse communities and where there's a rise of awareness of neurodiversity as well as a flavour of diversity, it's like mixed messages doesn't help anybody.
Yeah, especially when you're trying to communicate with students, and you know, if you've got an international student in front of you who's doing their best to navigate your labyrinthine policies and procedures, and they don't really understand what you're talking about, and you're using very formal language, and you're, well, you know, you were advised to this and this, and you're like, what does that mean? What do you want from me? Just tell me how to fix it, or somebody please help me fix it. And you go, okay, hang on a minute, just speak really plainly. It's not just, you know, plain English for every student. You know, is it plain English for every student, not the students that you think you have, but the students you actually have. And you know, it's like just be really, do what it says on the tin. That's all it's got to do. And instead of being, you know, covering your back with fancy words and lots of vague instruction, and you know, but they, you know, we know how to navigate that. We're used to that kind of language, but because we do it for a living, you know, but that's not necessarily, you know, what people, they just want something really accessible, and
they do.
Like, tell me how to get from A to B, and then
This
I will
reminded
leave,
me,
get out of your life.
you reminded me of when I used to be course administrator, but way back, supporting registration and enrollment in the olden days when all the students used to come in. It was on computers, but they did all have to come in and do it on site. And having to explain to international students over and over and over again what heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual were, because they'd be asked about their sexual orientation and, you know, the tick box thing. And they were like, I don't. And to be fair, not just international students, lots of students. They used to say, which one's straight? Because it doesn't use standard language. So we did change it. It did get changed. So it was the official HESA terminology with brackets after it to explain in more lay people's terms. But it does show you that, like, I thought, God, if you're stuck on like one tiny question of this, as you said, labyrinthine process of enrollment, which is like the obstacle course from, makes me think of that TV program, you know, where they go on those obstacle courses where they have to like swing across here and jump across there and go along the rolling barrels. You know, you can fall down every step. So that for me was a lesson as well. And I've working in admissions is something we talk about a lot, because we're often communicating by email, so you don't know what the person at the other end is taking or understanding. It's not like having a conversation face to face where you can see the perplexed expression on their face. And you know, a team might say, oh, they're so just ignoring me, or they're not getting back to me. I'm like, they may not understand what you're asking them. How are you asking it? And one of the terrible things I think we do a lot in HE is we ask for something that we need to do a particular task, but we don't explain why we need it. And particularly missions we might send out a fee assessment, for example, to assess someone's fee status. And they may not provide all the documentation we need. So we might go back and be like, well, I need your father's passport and your birth certificate. But we don't explain why. And you're asking for quite personal information. But and people get annoyed about it. But yeah, so one of the key things that worked on a lot in admission in my career, parts of my career in admissions, has been about always explaining why to students. I think that goes a long way, because it's not just about understanding the words, and the language and the grammar and the sentence structure of the sentence. It's understanding why that matters when it doesn't necessarily matter to them. It might matter to us.
The thing for staff, isn't it? You know, anytime you're delegating something, it's really helpful if you can give the why, but so often we're just in the, you know, the drumbeat of work in HE is do. So we don't take that time to slow down in the beginning and make sure that the delegation is set up really clearly, and that the why and that golden thread back to, well, what's this all about and why does it matter, really is in place.
It's so funny that you say that, because I spend a lot of time like explaining the why and making sure that, you know, I'm really clear. And if I answer a question from a staff member, I give them the thinking behind it, and I said the thing. And you can see with some people, they're like, why are you telling me all? Like, just tell me, you know, just give me the answer. It's yes or no. Like, why are you just like, no, I'm trying to explain the thinking so that you are now empowered to answer those questions in the future, because you won't need to come to anybody else to find out. You'll understand why the answer was what it was, and you can file that away, and that's increasing your knowledge and skill. And you know, I'm not talking for the sake of hearing the sound of my voice. Like, I don't need to stand here and explain it, because I understand it. So I'm trying to help you understand it, so that you've got. It's funny that sometimes you can really see on their face, they're just like, stop talking down to me. I'm not talking. I'm trying to help you understand. And I remember there was one particular incident that I'm still annoyed about 3 years later, but where, you know, we were a staff member from another area had agreed to help on a particular task that needed coverage. We didn't have enough people to cover it, and it was something to do with the enrollment process for international students. And so I was tasked with training them, make sure they understood what they needed to do so that this thing could happen during this coverage period. And I was trying to explain, and I was trying to, okay, can you repeat back to me what the steps are, in like, and why, like which screens you're going to go to, which and the whole everything was, it was like, okay, but this is really, you know, and I said, you know, I'm laboring the point because it's really, really important. If we don't get it right and the documents are not correct in the audit, we will be in trouble. Like, this is really important to our sponsor license. Like, this matters, you know, this, and the whole, you know, it was, yeah, well, we did the thing, and then the thing, and then, you know, yeah, it's fine, I got it, you know. And that was the whole, those were the words coming out of this person's mouth, you know. It was just like, okay, fine. So finally I just went, okay, fine, you've got it. If you've got questions, you know, but like, this is really important. And then, of course, it went wrong. It didn't get done correctly. There was another staff member who then did scan the wrong things, and they weren't, you know, they didn't check that the scans had come through, and so it was all cut off, and you couldn't see the important information. So I went back to them, and they were like, oh, well, that was so-and-so did them. They were covering the lunch period, like, not my problem. And it was like, this was delegated to you, you agreed to do it and take responsibility for it, therefore you should have explained to the person who was covering your lunch hour what to do. If you did not do, you know, it was like, and they just, I could tell they didn't get it, they didn't care, and it was going to go wrong, and it did. And I was like, okay, so now what do we, like, how do we fix it? So can you contact these students and ask them to please come back in and bring their documents, and, you know, you need to fix it. And it was a big to do, but it was like, there was a reason I was telling you. Like, trust me, it's not for my own good. It's funny how people,
but that's the key.
Yeah,
you said that you got them, you know, to fix it and everything. I think that embeds, that's the kind of the extension of the why, is a lot of managers get frustrated, less experienced ones particularly, but all of us generally, when team members don't take ownership and responsibility for mistakes and things they've made, or don't seem to understand the gravity of them. And I often say to colleagues who are complaining about this, I'm like, well, did you get them to fix it? Or did you helicopter in and magically fix it for them? And the managers that magically fix things, why would they? They don't see the consequences. And I will make a staff member draft the communication to the applicant or whatever, even if I don't use it or it doesn't get sent or whatever, and it's way beyond, it's gone so far wrong that we're not on that level anymore. It's gone very senior as a learning point, and then so they understand the implications. And okay, so say we did let that go through and they get to finance and work them through all the steps and what would have happened then and what would have happened then. And that's that extension of the why I was just thinking about. And obviously that's the learning point that they wouldn't have learned had you not made them be accountable for fixing it as well. Because if you just magically fixed it all, then they'd have been like, well, that was fine. Yeah, I just did whatever and it didn't really matter. I've had one staff member was like, why do I have to reply to the student? They're really angry. Well, you're the one who they're up. That's why.
You angered them, you deal with them.
Yeah. I'll look at it before we send it. I don't want you to look big more, but yeah.
We're at time. It's been a pleasure. See you next time.
Okay, so this has been HGT Break. We'll see you next time.